Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be in the UK, which is my first official trip as Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy. So as Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy, I oversee America's diplomatic engagement with foreign publics, including the online public. And I'm in the United Kingdom because our two countries share great foundational freedoms that helped shape the post-war order to our benefit, that helped defeat communism to our benefit, and that birthed the system of self-government we enjoy. But those freedoms are in danger now because of a temptation to censor the internet. And I'm here to speak against that and to urge Brits, whom I know share America's fundamental desire to be a free society, to join us in that and help welcome new technology in a way that innovates through the current problems we're seeing in the communications sphere, rather than trying to put that innovation back in the bottle and censor everything.
Okay, we'll come on to the Online Safety Act shortly. In this country, we've had people imprisoned for saying things on X, on Twitter. We have a comedian arrested, living in America, coming here. He's offended someone about a trans issue. He's arrested by armed police at the airport. What's going on?
Well, look, I think the way we explain it in America is that 250 years ago, our forefathers undertook the original Brexit. We split from the old world to claim new freedoms as citizens, not subjects. And America's first freedom, our most famous freedom, is freedom of speech enshrined in the First Amendment. Most countries don't share that constitutional bulwark, even though many countries, and I think the British people, share a fundamental desire to be free. But when you don't rigorously defend that right, even when it's inconvenient, even when the speech is offensive, you end up in these absurd scenarios where you have comedians arrested for tweets, priests arrested for silent prayer, grandmothers dragged out of their homes for criticizing gender ideology, and all manner of absurdities that I think good, thoughtful British people I've met with all reject these.
So why does the government here allow that to happen?
Well, that's a question for Britain, isn't it? But I think we had 200 years after the invention of the printing press to develop the institutions of modern self-government. And every time technology changes the way people communicate with each other, it changes the way our institutions function. There are shudders and shocks, there's fear, and there's a temptation to censoriousness. And all societies experience that. That temptation has existed in America too. But what I'm here to evangelize, what I'm here to urge, is that by adhering to disciplines like the ones encoded in the First Amendment, by pushing past those temptations and trying to innovate rather than stifle in situations like this, society's always better off in the long run, in hindsight.
So the Online Safety Act, which is a concern of your administration, is meant to protect children from seeing harmful things on the internet, but critics say it could be a chilling effect on free speech. Where do you sit? Do you understand where it comes from?
I understand where it comes from, and when you engage with British people on this, a lot of thoughtful British people endorse what they think the Tory government thought it was doing when it enacted the statute, which was protecting kids. Unfortunately, I can't find anyone who's really willing or able to defend what this law actually does, which imposes on the whole world, not just Britain, and imposes on adults, not just kids, the same absurd and misguided hate speech laws that land comedians in prison. And that's because the provisions of the Online Safety Act are quite broad. They apply to American companies, not just British companies, and they apply to speech totally off British soil that has nothing to do with British people and nothing to do with British children.
So the law overreaches in that sense? The
law vastly overreaches, and I think the Labour government and its heart knows this. I think when you engage with interlocutors in this government, it's clear that maybe this law, this statute, the way it's written, doesn't really express what the British people want. And by the way, when it comes to what British people seem to want, which is what America wants too, protecting kids, that is a key interest. And the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, has this entire initiative that my office is part of, the Fostering Our Future initiative, that is aimed at identifying tailored technological solutions that can help children, including by protecting them from harmful content like pornography. What we don't want is we don't want censorship statutes enacted on this flimsy and disingenuous pretext of child safety that are really about censoring adults. And I would also add that when you censor adult speech, on matters of public concern, including mass migration, you end up putting children at risk because the society can't govern itself by deliberating openly and truthfully about topics such as rape gangs, which endanger children, and speech on that subject has been censored pursuant to the Online Safety Act.
We've done a lot of work at GB News exposing the issue of rape gangs and the fact that the issue wasn't really properly dealt with by the government. That's a concern for you too?
Immensely so. Yes, there's a group called Open Justice UK actually that recently released another installment of court transcripts on those atrocities, which were frankly buried and concealed until recently, and I would urge your viewers to take a look.
And have you raised these concerns with the UK government?
So this is my very first official visit to the UK, and so I have not had any formal open sessions with the Labour government yet on this. I'd be happy to. And I know President Trump had a very successful state visit earlier this year in which our two governments agreed to work together on tech and AI. And I would only note that if we're going to make progress on tech and AI, technological innovation needs to be legal. It needs to be legal for people to access and share content, including via applications like ChatGPT and Facebook and Instagram. And that's one reason why these overreaching statutes pose such a threat.
In the UK, we're going towards another measure which may be of concern to you and the administration. Magna Carta 1215 under King John, that guarantees the right to a jury trial in this country, but the government might remove that to clear a court's backlog. Do you worry about that kind of thing, removing the right to a jury?
Sure. I mean, the right to jury trial is another foundational freedom that we share with Britain.
It's written
and
down
I would also add that one reason for the outcry at that jury trial removal is that you won't have access to jury nullification of your absurd censorship laws. And when you have to rely on jury nullification, and that for lay people means the jury seeing how the law applies, seeing that the defendant is guilty, and voting to acquit him anyways because the law is senseless, when you have to rely on that safety valve, it means the law is misguided. Now, I want to add one more thing on the Online Safety Act, and I emphasized this earlier, but I want to say it again. It's misguided and unfortunate to apply that law in Britain, but applying that law extraterritorially, which means applying it to speech that has nothing to do with Britain, does not occur in Britain, is on American platforms by American users on American political issues, purporting to censor Americans in America is a deal breaker. It is a non-starter. It is a red line. And that's what Ofcom has tried to do with the Online Safety Act, and that's one reason the American government is concerned.
Okay, but will your government then take legal action against Ofcom if they try and overreach in the way you've described?
Well, there's already formal action proposed. There is a bill before the House called the Granite Act that would amend an existing statute to clarify that as a matter of American public policy, any penalties imposed by Ofcom are unenforceable against American companies. So our legislature will likely consider that, and will certainly consider other options if indeed the British government insists upon trying to nullify the First Amendment on American soil with respect to American companies.
This stuff really matters. I mean, on the issue of jury trials, that should be guaranteed, whatever happens?
Certainly as Americans, we think so. We've got a whole Sixth Amendment that says so.
We're going towards getting a new definition of Islamophobia in this country. That's what the government's looking at the moment. We're told that it won't be a backdoor blasphemy law by Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. But are you comfortable with the UK doing this?
I'm not comfortable with basically anything the UK government does on quote-unquote Islamophobia right now, given the recent decision of the Crown Prosecution Service to appeal the acquittal of the Quran burner who was convicted in a Kafkaesque manner of inciting violence against himself.
So we'll wait and see where that plays out.
I think the free speech groups have, with good reason, raised concerns about this Islamophobia definition. Now, as to the exact legal effect and the exact scope of any policy concern, depends upon how that plugs into existing statutes, how it's enforced. But recent events certainly do not give me confidence.
Now, President Donald Trump has spoken about Sadiq Khan, the London mayor. We're not going to go over that again, leave that to one side. But President Trump has talked about the issue of Sharia law coming to this country. Is that right?
Well, I think if you're going to punish blasphemy, which the Crown Prosecution Service seems to want to do in the Quran burning case, and you're going to permit the same kinds of abuses that went unchecked as documented in the Casey report, then you're already aiding and abetting the incursion of Sharia law.
And we know you're also concerned in your administration about the small boats crisis on the south coast of this country. I know you're not talking about security today, but you are concerned maybe on a community cohesion level, because we don't know simply who's coming to this country.
I mean, look, nobody's safe in the country if just anyone can walk in. And I would also add what every Brit and every American these days, unfortunately, intuitively knows, which is that when you change the people who live in the country's values change too, the country's politics change too, the country's institutions change too.
And that's what you worry about, that cohesion level.
Yes, we have to care who comes into the country. We have to care who constitutes the country, because otherwise the foundational freedoms that we all staked out hundreds of years ago are not going to be long for this world.
Okay, it's the end of 2025. Next year, 2026, is a very big year for America. It's your 250th anniversary of independence. Your Brexit, as you said. I love the idea of your Brexit in the States. But how can GB News viewers get involved? How can we help you mark this huge moment for your republic?
Thank you so much for asking. And I'm so lucky to be in this role at this time, because this has been a couple of centuries and a half in the making. So I was actually meeting with embassy officials earlier today, planning our celebration. I think we're going to do something around the Magna Carta and free speech. And you should watch my Twitter feed and our embassy's website for more.
We certainly will. It's been great to have you talking to us today, Sarah Rogers. Your first interview in Britain, and you gave it to GB News. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much.